Welcome to the Law of Attraction Tribe podcast. I'm your host, Stephanie Keith. If you're looking to manifest a life you don't need a vacation from, then you came to the right place. I quit my 9-to-5 job to stay home with my kids while building a thriving business. Now, as a best-selling author, app creator, and 3-times podcaster, I am here to teach you how to do the same. If you want to join my inner tribe, head over to the Manifest It Now app. And now let's dive in to the podcast where I'm going to give you my best manifestation hacks and tips so that you can manifest a life full of abundance, freedom, and fulfillment. Hey guys, welcome back to the Law of Attraction Tribe podcast. I'm your host, Stephanie Keith, and today I want to talk about just like the cycles that we go through in life, and especially as women, like with our menstrual cycles and how that affects everything, how that affects our mood, our work, our business, our social life, our relationships, like everything. And this is something that it's like, I feel like we were kind of told this growing up, but never really put two and two together, or at least I never did. And so I noticed this is a common theme, like in my coaching program, when women would really get down on themselves for not taking enough action and just being like, man, I'm not motivated. I don't feel like doing anything. I haven't taken enough action in my business. And they just beat themselves up over it. And I'm like, a few weeks ago, you were like on it and you created a bunch of content and you made a bunch of videos and you were doing really great. Maybe this is the time of your cycle that you're supposed to relax and go inward and, self-care and all of that kind of stuff. And it's like, until someone really points it out, I think we don't realize that. And I think that there's a lot of reasons. So I want to kind of dive into all of this in the podcast. And I think it all starts with how we're set up as a society in both schooling as well as the workforce, where we're supposed to be on it all times. During the workday from 9 to 5, you're supposed to be on your A game. You're supposed to be taking action 8 hours a day, which is absolutely insane. Like, no one is actually doing this. They've done studies on this showing that like creativity and really productive action only lasts for like 2 hours in human beings. And then you need a rest period. And so that's where you find people like scrolling through emails and doing these mundane tasks that don't really contribute to anything for the majority of the day. And our whole society is set up this way. And in the workforce, and especially what I experienced in sales in corporate America, is that it's very much like you have to be in your masculine energy all the time, which means, you're just going hard, taking action, super analytical, and strategic, like 24/7. And I struggled so much, and especially with my mental health during that time. And I would always think like, what is wrong with me? And I can't do this. And like, I would compare myself to the men on my team who are like getting doses of testosterone in their system every day and are meant to be doing these very action-oriented steps and analytical steps every single day. And it's just an unfair comparison. And so I felt like I was always working twice as hard just to try to keep up and keep my sanity. And I just felt so energetically depleted all the time. I was always tired. I was always cranky. I was always battling like anxiety and just feeling like I was never good enough. And it wasn't until people started like really talking about this for women and like how it correlates to their work and their business that I finally connected the dots and realized I have been beating myself up for years over something that I have absolutely no control over, because women are on a completely different cycle than men. Men go through these phases every single day. Women go through these in a month, in a cycle of the month. And so I just want to like talk about some of these because I want you to make the connection that everything is a cycle. And if you're in the phase where you're super depressed, you're very sluggish, all you want to do is sit in sweatpants and lay in bed and watch Netflix and not do a damn thing, rather than beating yourself up over it, which I'm sure you're probably doing because that's what we've been programmed to believe, that there's something wrong with us, that we're lazy, that we have no motivation and we suck and we're not good at anything. That it's really just a natural part of life for women. And when you're in that cycle, there are certain things that you should really be focusing on, and taking action and being social and all these other things are not part of it. And when it comes to manifestation, that is not the phase of manifestation where you want to go and start taking inspired action. That's the phase where you want to go inward and reflect and ask yourself, what do I need? What am I feeling right now? What do I need to look at that's going on inside of me? Do I need to rest? Do I need to chill? And it so goes against everything we were taught that it's really hard to make that transition. But once you kind of realize this, and you have awareness of it, the next time you're in that phase, you can kind of tell yourself, okay, this is going to end. This may only last a day or a few days, but there is an end in sight, and I'm going to get a burst of energy again, and I will be motivated and inspired again. And right now, this is my rest phase. And so I'm going to kind of go through the 4 phases. And this is like the menstrual cycle. You can also correlate it to like the moon cycles. But we're going to start with the menstrual phase, which is usually days 1 through 5. And this is where, like, looking at your hormones, your estrogen levels are going to start to rise a little bit, and your progesterone is going to dip. And so it can leave you feeling like very low on energy, but in sort of that reflective phase. So this is where it would be a great time in your business or in your job to do anything analytical, like looking at numbers, reflecting at the month or the year. It's a good time for solo projects. So that could be like proofreading, again, like analytical type stuff, goal setting. And it's a really good time in the manifestation phase to like look at journaling. If you go in the Manifest It Now app and you go to the Inner Tribe section, every single category in there has a workbook filled with journal prompts. So kind of pick what you're feeling called to do and do the workbook. Like just sit down and that'll help you get into this mode of journaling. Because a lot of times I hear people say, I would love to start journaling, but I don't know what to write. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. This will guide you. It will give you very specific questions and guide you through the process so you can kind of reflect on what's going on internally. It's going to give you a lot of insight so that when you're in the phase where you're ready to take action, you have a really good, solid perspective on what's going on and what patterns are playing out. The next phase is the follicular phase, which is on days 6 to 10. Now, this is just typical. Like, it's going to be different for everybody, but it's typically days 6 to 10. And from a hormonal standpoint, this is when the hypothalamus releases FSH. So your estrogen and progesterone levels are going to rise. And with that, you're going to have more energy, more motivation to do things. So this is where, from a career standpoint, from a business standpoint, you can really focus. You could do all that creative work. Like you're going to get a burst of creativity. And so it's a really good time to like dive into projects and maybe like taking a new course or starting a new project for your business or like writing and, getting all of the creative stuff out. And coming up with really solid ideas and plans and like the meat of the content that you're going to do. So this might be a good time to like write out scripts for social media, write out blog articles, or write out the things that you're going to record videos on for a course or a podcast and get all the creative juices flowing. It's not when you're going to record it and get on video, but this is when you're going to plan out and get all the creative inspiration behind it. And so again, like with manifestation, this is where a lot of those like fun, creative practices are going to be great. And so again, journaling, like allowing yourself to write is going to be really good. Any of the rituals in the manifesting toolkit and the Manifest It Now app will be really good. Or like one of the challenges, because those are going to have like these fun, different creative rituals that you can do to really get into that manifesting mode. The next phase is the ovulatory phase, and typically this is going to be days 11 through 18. So, from a hormonal standpoint, there is estrogen and testosterone levels that are going to peak. And so this is going to make you feel like super outgoing, very confident, like a social butterfly. And so this is where in your business, you're going to want to engage in some type of like collaboration, working with other people, going to networking events, or doing like live calls, getting on social media. This is where you're going to record your social media content that you prepared in the previous phase. This is where you're going to record videos for your podcast or your course. This is the phase where you're going to feel like you are getting a lot of shit done, and you're going to feel super confident in front of the camera. You're going to feel super confident talking to other people. You're going to be glowing. So this is the time when you want to actually do this, like take the action of everything you've planned out in the other phases and put it into action. And then the next phase is going to be the luteal phase, which is usually around days 19 to 28 plus, which sucks because it's like the longest phase and it's also the suckiest phase. Yay. So this is where, from a hormonal standpoint, if you're not pregnant, your progesterone is going to rapidly tank. It's going to really decrease, and it's going to make you feel sluggish, and it could make you feel depressed and like really down on yourself. And like I said in the beginning, all those feelings of like, I'm not good enough, this sucks, like I don't want to do anything, that is going to come in this phase. And so from a business standpoint, this is where you're not going to want to do a launch. You're not going to want to do big projects. You're not going to want to record videos or like network and collaborate with other people. But this is where you're going to want to focus on the very mundane, repetitive tasks. So this would be like organizing things, updating like any reports or like information that you look at, and just things that you don't really have to think about, more of like those admin tasks. And so this is where like in the second phase, you had the creativity, right? So you like planned out social media content, you planned out like maybe podcast episodes and videos. The phase after that, you recorded everything, you were feeling very social. So maybe this phase is where you upload or you schedule those posts and you kind of like put it all together. The work is done. You've just got to do the admin task of scheduling it and posting it. Or maybe this is where you go and like upload the podcast episodes or the videos that you recorded, and everything's done. You're just now uploading this stuff to your course or your podcast or whatever. And so those are the 4 phases. And I wanted to bring this up today because I want you to have that connection, that awareness that when I'm in this phase, the luteal phase, which is the longest phase of the month, it is normal to feel unmotivated, tired, low energy, sluggish, like you really don't want to take action. That is absolutely normal. And if you're still in the corporate world or you're in school, you might be like me where you look at your male counterparts and you're like, man, they're so on it and I suck. Well, that's because every single day they're getting these rises of testosterone where they can take a lot of action. And so you really can't compare the two, but what you can do is plan out your month according to your cycle and kind of plan out in chunks of like when you want to be social or do interviews or record videos and that kind of thing. When you want to focus on the analytical stuff, when you want to do all the planning and creative stuff, and then when you want to just do admin tasks. And give yourself grace. When you're in this luteal phase, you got to give yourself grace and tell yourself this is normal. And everyone else is going through this too. And that was the biggest thing I realized in the elite group coaching that we did is every single woman would go through this where like 1 week they would be on fire and they would be doing all of these things, and then another week they would feel like they are just not good enough, they should just give up, this sucks, like what if they don't make it? And I'm like, you guys, it is normal. This is normal, and it is a cycle, and you're gonna come out of this cycle. And it's hard because when you're in the cycle, you don't see an end in sight. Like literally, the reason why I'm recording this podcast, like you guys know, I do things in real time. Like when I'm feeling inspired is when I am recording it, because I just feel like things come through at a certain time for a reason, and someone else needs to hear this. So yesterday, I'm like in my, luteal phase, and yesterday I just started crying for like no reason whatsoever. Like literally no reason. I just started crying, and it's like doom and gloom and worst case scenario of like literally everything. And I was like, nobody likes me. Nobody wants to be around me. No one wants to listen to me. Like, why am I even doing a podcast? Why am I even on social media? Like, everybody hates me, which is so silly. And today I feel completely different. But at the time, you just think like, oh my gosh, like this is my life now, and I should just give up and I should quit everything and I just suck. And it's like your mind plays these horrible tricks on you that literally pass in a couple of days. And so thankfully, I had awareness of it where I knew, I'm like, you know what? I'm going through it, and I'm going to be out of it tomorrow or the next day. Certainly by next week, I'm probably going to be feeling like on my A game. But for right now, I'm just going to like let myself cry and just kind of chill out and like not really do anything for work and just go with the flow. And that's what I did. And of course, today I feel better. I feel more productive. I'm taking action. I'm recording a podcast. So really start to connect the dots. And I know like we're taught these phases in health class when we're like in middle school or whenever, high school, whenever. But we're not really taught how it correlates to our business, to how we make money, to being in a work environment with men who don't have these same cycles and phases. And it's really, I think, important to make that connection so you quit beating yourself up and you can start planning for when things work for you. And that is why I freaking hate the 9 to 5. Like, the whole idea of working an 8-hour day, 5 days a week for a factory job, which is why this whole 9 to 5 thing started, it makes sense because in factories, the more hours you were putting in, the more units you were producing. We are long gone with that. We have machines doing that shit. Now there's a lot of jobs around creativity, around, using our mind and like our analytical skills, our strategic thinking. And it just doesn't work with a 9 to 5 work week, at least not for women. And so I think it's really important that we look at this and we plan accordingly and do what we can to make it work for us. And at the very least, have awareness of it so that when you're in these phases, you quit beating yourself up and I'm going to come out of this, and that's when I'm going to take the action. That's when I'm going to record the video. That's when I'm going to go to these social events, but I'm not going to do it when all I really want to do is relax. Instead, during that time, I'm going to sit in my bed with my sweatpants on and do my admin work. And if you're in the 9 to 5 and you can't, I get it because I did that for 12 years. And that's one of the many reasons I left. And so if that's something that you're thinking about, you can listen to some of my other episodes, but that's what I'm trying to do now in my business, is to help other women create a lifestyle where you have that freedom so you can leave your job, whether you want to start your own business or whether you want to be at home with your kids and just like have some passive income to pay the bills. That is my goal. I am trying to create this movement where women have the freedom to do that through creating their own streams of income. So one of the ways is through creating your own app. And I'm working on some other really fun projects that are coming up. So stay tuned. I'm going to try to get a wait list going for everybody so you can stay on top of this stuff. But in the meantime, like, feel free to reach out to me. I get people pretty much every day messaging me on Instagram. My handle's at Law of Attraction Tribe, and just telling me, like, they're just done. They're ready to leave their job, but they don't know where to start. And that is where I am trying to create things to help you guys figure that part out, because believe me, it's figure outable. Like, there is something that you are meant to do. And when you can find your purpose, you have so much motivation and creativity to move forward. And when you can plan out your month and your year, kind of understanding these phases that we go through, it makes it feel so easy. Instead of constantly hitting your head against the wall and forcing things and then wondering why nothing ever manifests the way you want it to, you can manifest according to you and your cycle and how you operate in each different phase that you're in. So anyhow, reach out to me if that's something that's on your mind. Like I said, I'm going to try to get a wait list going because I have some really cool things coming. And stay tuned for that. Thank you guys for tuning in today to this episode. I hope to chat with you over on Instagram, and I'll see you back here next time. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you guys want more in between these podcast episodes, you can subscribe to my Apple Podcast, Manifested It. You can find that in Apple Podcasts, and it has all of my bonus interviews, guided visualizations, subliminals, meditations, all that good stuff. Or you can download the Manifest It Now app, where I put everything, all of my interviews, tools, everything I've used to manifest a life I don't need a vacation from. You can find that wherever you get your apps, in Google Play or the Apple App Store, and you can join the Inner Tribe Manifesting Community, which is inside the app as well, if you want to up level with a group of women who are there to support you, cheer you on, give you guidance, and up level your vibe. And if you love this episode, the best thing you can do to support the podcast is share it. Share it with a friend, share it on your Instagram. Make sure to tag me at Law of Attraction Tribe so I can share it back on my story as well. I love connecting with you guys and putting a face to all the listeners out there. So come connect with me over on Instagram and let's start a conversation. Have a great week, and I'll see you back here next time.